The dust settled across the Wyoming plains as Martha stood at the window of the general store, watching her father load supplies into the wagon. She counted each item: 2 bags of flour, salt pork, coffee beans, a bolt of cloth for her mother. Her 18th birthday had come and gone 3 weeks ago without celebration, marked only by the way her father's eyes had begun to linger on her with a calculating expression she'd never seen before. "Martha, come help with these parcels," her father called, his voice gruff as always. She moved to assist him, her worn boots scuffing against the wooden planks. The Colorado Territory sun beat down mercilessly, and she could feel sweat beginning to dampen the back of her faded calico dress. As she reached for one of the bags, she noticed Mr. Thornton, the wealthy rancher from the northern spread, standing near the post office, his eyes fixed on their wagon. James Thornton was a man of about 40, weathered but prosperous, with a reputation for fair dealings and a ranch that sprawled across thousands of acres. He'd been widowed for nearly 5 years, and the town gossips whispered endlessly about which young woman might catch his eye. Martha had never paid much attention to such talk. Men like Thornton existed in a different world from hers, one of comfort and security she could scarcely imagine. That evening, after a sparse supper of beans and cornbread, Martha was washing dishes when she heard low voices from the porch. Her father's tone carried that wheedling quality he used when trying to strike a bargain. She crept closer to the door, her hands still damp from the dishwater. "She's strong, healthy, good worker," her father was saying. "Pretty enough, too, when she's cleaned up. And young, still got all her childbearing years ahead of her." Martha's blood ran cold. He was talking about her as if she were livestock. "I need provisions to get us through winter, Mr. Thornton. My crops failed again, and we're down to nothing. You need a wife, I need flour and supplies. Seems like we could help each other." There was a long silence. Martha held her breath, praying she'd misunderstood, praying that surely no father would. "How much flour are we talking about?" Thornton's voice was measured, unreadable. "A sack. Just 1 sack to see us through, plus whatever other goods you think fair. She'll make you a good wife, I promise you that." Martha felt the room spin around her. 1 sack of flour. Her father was offering to trade her for 1 sack of flour and some supplies. 18 years of her life, all the time she'd worked herself to exhaustion in their failing fields, all the meals she'd gone without so her younger siblings could eat, all of it worth less to him than 50 pounds of ground wheat. "I'll think on it," Thornton said finally, and Martha heard his boots descending the porch steps. She stumbled back to the kitchen, her vision blurred with tears. Her mother sat in the corner, mending by candlelight, and when their eyes met, Martha saw only resignation there. Her mother had known. Perhaps had even agreed to it. 3 days later, Martha found herself standing in the small church, wearing a dress borrowed from a neighbor, promising to honor and obey James Thornton until death parted them. The ceremony was brief and businesslike. Thornton's expression remained neutral throughout, while her father practically beamed, already mentally spending the goods he'd received in exchange for his eldest daughter. The ride to Thornton's ranch was silent. Martha sat stiffly on the wagon seat, her few possessions bundled in a flour sack, an irony that made her want to laugh or scream, she wasn't sure which. The ranch house, when it finally appeared on the horizon, was far larger than she'd expected. It was a proper 2-story structure with a wraparound porch, painted white with green shutters. Flowers grew in beds near the entrance, carefully tended despite the harsh climate. Thornton helped her down from the wagon without speaking and carried her bundle inside. The interior was clean and surprisingly well appointed, with real glass windows and furniture that looked store-bought rather than handmade. A Mexican woman in her 50s appeared from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. "This is Rosa," Thornton said. "She keeps the house and does the cooking. Rosa, this is Martha. My wife." Rosa's dark eyes swept over Martha with more kindness than she'd seen in days. "Welcome, Senora. Come, I show you everything." Thornton disappeared after that, and Martha didn't see him again until supper. Rosa led her through the house, pointing out the kitchen, the parlor, the dining room, and finally up the stairs to a bedroom. Martha's heart hammered as Rosa opened the door, but the older woman gestured to a small, neat room with a single bed. "This is yours," Rosa said gently. "The señor, he has his room at the end of the hall. He said you should be comfortable." That night at supper, eaten at a real dining table with proper plates and silverware, Thornton finally spoke more than a handful of words to her. "I want to be clear about our arrangement," he said, cutting into his roast beef with precision. "Your father came to me with a proposition. I'll be honest, I was disgusted by it. No man should trade his daughter like a commodity." He paused, his gray eyes meeting hers directly for the first time. "But I also saw an opportunity to help someone who clearly needed help, and yes, I do need a wife to help run this household properly." Martha's hands trembled around her fork. "So you bought me for a sack of flour?" "No," he said firmly. "I gave your father what he asked for because I knew if I didn't, he'd find someone else who would, and that someone might not have your best interests at heart. But you're not my property, Martha. You're my wife in name and legal standing, and you'll be treated with respect in this house." "What does that mean?" she whispered. "It means you have your own room until and unless you decide otherwise. It means you'll work alongside Rosa learning to run this household, but you'll also have time to yourself. It means you'll eat well and have proper clothes and anything else you reasonably need." He set down his knife and fork. "It means you're not a sack of flour. You're a person, and you'll be treated like one." Martha didn't know what to say. She'd expected many things from this arrangement, but basic human dignity hadn't been among them. The days turned into weeks, and Martha discovered that Thornton meant what he said. He was kind without being overbearing, respectful without being distant. He taught her to ride properly, helped her understand the ranch's operations, and never once entered her room uninvited. Rosa became both teacher and friend, showing her how to manage a large household, how to preserve foods in quantities Martha had never imagined, how to read the account books. But more than that, Thornton began asking her opinions. What did she think about adding more chickens to their flock? Would she prefer roses or lavender in the front garden? Should they hire another hand for the spring roundup? Each question, each consultation, felt like a small restoration of the worth her father had stripped away. One evening in late autumn, Martha found Thornton in his study, reviewing papers by lamplight. She knocked softly on the open door. "May I speak with you?" He gestured to the chair across from his desk. "Of course. I want to understand something," she said, gathering her courage. "Why did you really agree to my father's proposition? You could have married anyone. Why take in a girl whose own father valued her at 50 pounds of flour?" Thornton leaned back in his chair, studying her thoughtfully. "My first wife, Catherine, was traded by her family to settle a debt. She was 16, I was 25, and I was too young and foolish to understand what that meant for her. I thought providing comfort and security would be enough." His voice grew quiet. "But she was so sad, Martha. For 10 years, she was comfortable and safe and utterly heartbroken because no one had ever asked what she wanted. When she died, I swore I'd never trap another person that way. But you married me. I married you to get you away from a man who saw you as a transaction. I married you so you'd have choices, even if those choices were limited. I married you hoping that someday you might choose to be here, truly be here, not because you had nowhere else to go but because you wanted to." Martha felt tears prickling her eyes. "What if I wanted to leave? Then I'd help you do so. I'd give you enough money to start somewhere new, write you references, whatever you needed." He met her gaze steadily. "You're not a prisoner, Martha. You never have been." "And what do you want?" she asked softly. "I want you to discover your own worth," he said. "I want you to wake up one morning and realize that you're valuable not because of what you can do or produce or provide, but simply because you exist. Your father was wrong. You're worth more than all the flour in Wyoming." Something shifted in Martha that night. She began to see the ranch not as a cage but as a foundation. She started contributing ideas for improvements, managing the household accounts, even corresponding with suppliers. Thornton bought her books. She'd mentioned once that she loved to read but had rarely had access to books, and she devoured them by candlelight. Spring came, and with it her 19th birthday. Martha woke to find a package on her doorstep with a note in Thornton's neat handwriting. "For the woman you're becoming." Inside was a beautiful riding outfit in deep blue wool, clearly custom-made for her measurements. That afternoon, dressed in her new clothes and feeling more confident than she ever had, Martha went to find Thornton. He was in the north pasture, checking fences, and she rode out to meet him. "Thank you for the gift," she said. "It's beautiful." "You're welcome. Though I should thank you. This ranch runs better than it has in years, and that's because of you. James," she said, using his first name for the first time, "I want you to know something. I choose to be here. Not because I have nowhere else to go, but because this is where I want to be. With you." The smile that spread across his weathered face was like sunrise breaking over the mountains. "Are you sure?" "I'm sure. You gave me back something my father stole, my sense of worth, my dignity, my right to choose. You showed me that my value isn't measured in flour or supplies or what I can provide. It's inherent. And I want to build a life with someone who understands that." That evening, Martha moved her belongings down the hall. Their marriage became real in all the ways it hadn't been before, but it was built on a foundation of respect and choice that made all the difference. Years later, Martha would sometimes look back on that transaction in the general store, on the calculating look in her father's eyes, on the humiliation of being worth a sack of flour. But then she'd look around at the thriving ranch she helped manage, at the husband who valued her partnership, at the life she'd built through her own choices, and she'd realize something her father never understood. Her worth had never changed. It had always been infinite. She just needed someone to remind her, and to give her the freedom to discover it for herself.